Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of a Bloop and a Blast baseball podcast. My name's Big Sexy. I'm the Bloop. And hey, Hughesy, you're the Blast. Hey, what's going on, man? What's going on? We got someone here.
We got a very special person to come on tonight. Thought it was about time. We're only a couple of weeks out from the Australian Baseball League kicking off. Plenty of things happening in Australia. So we've got Gonzo, mate. Welcome to Bloop and a Blast podcast, mate. Great to have you on.
No, mate, thank you. I enjoy the show. I've checked out a few of the episodes, and you've had quite the star-studded cast already.
Oh, mate, it's been great. The guys that we've had on so far have, definitely shared a few yarns, had some laughs and stuff like that. And, we do try to keep it pretty relaxed on here. But, I do have to kick this off, and I like to kick everything off just by, giving a little brief rundown on the people that we interview and their past, because I think a lot of the times people forget you spent so much time in Australian baseball, but forget what you've done, previously in the playing arena. And for me, obviously I've known you for a long time, mate, and you've, you spent 6 years playing with San Diego and the White Sox in the States. You're an American. You played there for 6-7 years. You went to Japan, played in Oryx you got some time over there for a year. You came out to Australia. I'm not sure how that really eventuated. I wouldn't mind diving into that a little bit as we move on. You played 7 years in the ABL, represented Australia for the same time, 7 years as well. A couple of Intercontinental Cups, obviously the Olympic gold medal. You won 99 and won the silver in 04. It's pretty special. It's 20-year anniversary this year with the Olympics, mate. And give us a quick little rundown on everything, on how, I guess I'm interested to know how you actually got out to Australia originally.
Yeah, well, good question. Mate, I came in, I think it was 92. I was with San Diego, and I had my first year of the California League. I underplayed under Bruce Bochy, and we had won the California League. But I had torn my hamstring that year and lost about a month and a half, so they wanted me to get more ABs. So they said, we're going to send you to Mexico. And then that didn't work through. They said, we're going to send you to Australia. I'm like, what? Like, you play baseball in Australia? And I'm like, yeah. So they ended up sending me to Australia and in 92 and played the old RNA Showgrounds, which you're familiar with, and back in the old days. And it was a shock because I went from, California League where we just won under a new stadium and we're facing guys like Pedro Martinez and Mike Piazza, and all of a sudden I'm playing on this makeshift facility, and there's bats flying out of the tree when I hit bombs in the right field. And it's like, and Aussies are swinging 10 and I'm swinging timber. And, and it's like, mate, this is a whole different world. But that's where I came to Australia as a Brisbane Bandit. And my wife was doing her postgrads at QUT in communications and media liaison. We ended up connecting through the year. And now 30 years later and two sons, we're still in Australia and loving it.
Mate, that's special. I mean, what year did you transfer from swinging wood in the ABL to tin? I'm interested because I went and looked at some stats, and there's a few years there that were slightly inflated.
Yeah. So it was inflated. That was in the let's just say the aluminium era, which
you would have loved. You would have loved.
I actually didn't, and I'll tell you, Dan Radisson was managing us that year. And the rules had a stipulation that says if you weren't affiliated with an organization, you could swing 10. And I was swinging wood the whole time because I had aspirations of re-signing again. And he's like, "Nah, mate, you can swing 10." And I'm like, "Oh, really?" And I had swung 10 since university. Yeah. And I signed in 97 with San Diego out of TCU. And I struggled because the weight balance. I was 34, 31 and a half, 32 ounces. All of a sudden, the bats were reflexes and they were 29 ounces. So a lot of times, and I was already an aggressive hitter, as you might know, and I didn't mind a fastball, but the changeup and the curveball were my kryptonite. And so a light bat and a lot of off speed made it difficult. But I ended up just committing to it and then ended up having some big years with the 10. And I think the first year for Team Australia was 97 in Spain. I played with a good mate of yours and a legend in Greg Jelks, and we went down, and Jelks, he's like, "Gonz, swing this." And it was this Easton C-Core that was 34-31, so same weight balance. And I almost won
game
the Triple
changer.
Crown. I almost won the Triple Crown in that tournament, and we ended up winning. We beat Team USA for bronze, and then that's when my second career opened: Japan, Italy, Taiwan, all opened up opportunities, and it gave me not only an opportunity to represent Australia in the green and gold leading into 2000, then eventually '04, but I got to see the world through a different lens through other countries playing baseball. But then I had to reconvert back to wood. And then eventually the Australian realized, well, the committees realized that if they let pro guys continue to swing 10, somebody was going to die. So we went back to wood, and then it kind of balanced everything out again.
Those Seacores were dangerous.
Oh.
They were just like,
so
even the old reflexes. Sorry,
mate,
you go.
no. Corey Adamson, funny enough, had Tony Adamson, Hall of Fame, obviously. He found his old Eastern, the silver one with the green writing.
Yes.
He pulled it out last year, and he's like, mate, we've got to take this down and hit batting practice with it just to kind of see what it's all about, But mate, I have to look, like you got to play and represent Australia through a very, I guess, important kind of era. You won the Intercontinental Cup, 2000 Olympics, 2004 Olympics. Like, that's pretty special to be able to be involved with the Australian national team in that period throughout baseball.
Yeah, look, and I'm glad you brought that up. If you want to talk about in my entire career and everything I've had the opportunity to do, that probably is my highlight, is represent Australia and wearing the green and gold. The mateship of that group and what we built as a brotherhood. I almost was a teammate of yours. You were probably one call away from Greece, which maybe was the difference between silver and gold. But I'm really fortunate because of the legends of this that I've got to compete with, and most of them, and well, all of them, and to have that opportunity in '97, to be part of that first team to then carry on to '04, and then to have success. 3 medals in 7 years is it hasn't been done yet or ever. So I was on each one of those teams. So for me to experience that and be part of was special, will always be special to me as well.
Definitely.
Gonzo, before we keep going here, I appreciate all that, but I just want to have a look here. Some of our viewers watching on YouTube, hashtag subtle plug at Bloop Blast Podcast on YouTube, guys. Go and check it out. But also in the background there, you were sort of explaining to us a little bit there before. If you don't mind diving into some of the amazing memorabilia you've got on the wall, because I don't think a lot of people would understand how amazing some of this stuff is.
Yeah, look, I'm
in
lucky.
The ball cabinet.
Yeah, look, just in the ball cabinet, I've got 2 Olympic balls, obviously one from Sydney, one from Athens. I've got when Cal Ripken was on his streak, I was gifted a baseball with Cal Ripken, as far as one of the Journey balls. I've got Ichiro Suzuki signed ball because I played with Ichiro when I was in Oryx with Oryx Blue Wave. And I've got opening ceremony, the game ball from LA versus Arizona Diamondbacks in
2014.
Sydney.
Yeah.
And I've got the Intercontinental Cup and then a few just World Baseball Classic balls that I've been able to acquire. I went to the 2017 World Baseball Classic in Japan, so picked up that. And so I'm really lucky. And the funny thing is that box in the old days in America, they used to put Coke bottles in wooden crates, and that's a Pepsi wood crate that I brought back from the US, and I've just made it my shadow box.
Did you declare that when you came through customs, mate, or sneak that one through?
Of course, it went through customs quarantine and was inspected. All good. Everything's above board here.
Of course, mate. Your playing career, in Australia just kind of set you up for what you moved into. I know. You stepped away from the game for a little bit, went to business before transitioning into a role with the Brisbane Bandits. And you were involved with them for 12 years, obviously as 2 different kind of roles. I've got general manager here and director of special projects. I think that's when you finished up as the GM. You're a part of arguably the second best era of the Australian Baseball League, winning 4 straight championships.
Second best.
Second best.
Hang on, mate. You've got to be nice to the guests. What are you doing?
And he's right. I mean, look, and I'll be honest with you, when I first, as in the modern era ABL, Perth Heat, hands down, they were the flagship, and everyone was shooting for that. And Hughesy was on that ball club, and I remember we were just littered with young kids, young talent, And the difference between us and probably a lot of other clubs, we committed to our youth. Your Logan Wades, your Ryan Battaglias, your Ryan Searles, who were all in their 19s and 20s. And then within 5-year period, they were the Luke Hugheses, the Keneally's of the ABL. And with that maturity and the homegrown talent, they helped, really lead Queensland. But it was really driven by the success of Perth and the modelling that they had set
Mate,
up.
there was no difference, right? Like, all jokes aside, like what we talked about it with TK, where we came on board and, we had a young team. We lost every game, and then we went on. It was still the Claxon Shield at that stage, but it was exactly the same. You had a bunch of young talent, and you nurtured them. They grew, and you won 4, right? And it's a special time, and I know it's a special holds a special place in your heart and in your baseball journey too, especially being a part of it as a general manager, and you got to see it from such a different angle, on and off the field.
And I'll be honest with you, the wins and losses as a player didn't mean anything to me. But when I saw the brand evolve and the sport grow, and then seeing kids get opportunities to sign professional contracts or have opportunities to represent Australia, that to me, it means more than wins and losses, because that means their journeys continue. And that's what you do now, is giving back and watching this next generation have this great opportunity and this platform called Baseball in Australia, and we just signed, Travis Mazzana. I mean, once again, a kid that had an opportunity because of the pathway that's been opened up through opportunities through this sport.
It's funny that you say that, because I was a massive. I mean, I'm from Lismore, so going for the Bandits was always on the cards, right? They were the closest team to us. I was actually living in Brisbane when you guys were playing at RNA just before you moved to Windsor. I always call it Windsor. It's not. It's not Windsor. Vitacoin or whatever it is. Yeah, but it's funny, like, and to be fair, like, I played with a fair few of those guys in junior ranks, like your Mitch Nielsen's and your Andrew Campbell's and those guys, your Soupy, like, and then to see them at RNA, like, yeah, I've had other chats with other guys that were in the league. I said, man, it's every now and then it's like doing an apprenticeship. You've got to go in and it's going to suck for a fair bit of time, but for you guys as an organization at that time, I mean, to take that bet on those guys, and it's not a bet, but to have that strength, was that something that you guys, was there many times where you thought, oh, maybe, maybe not, or was it constantly just a thing where if we stick with this young crop, we're going to get rewarded? Sort of. Do you know where I'm going with this? There's a lot of chat around maybe.
It was a commitment to that group, and because of the talent within the group. And a lot of those guys only got like a cup of coffee of minor league baseball, and then they were released, and then they're wondering what's next. So the ABL and the Bandits became their major leagues, and to see those guys eventually continue to play and then wear the green and gold and have success.
Yeah.
Once again, as an organization, but it's created a great pipeline, because I consider states like WA and even Queensland, South Australia success states, because they have a low member base. They sit under 4,000 members. But if you look at how they punch above their weight in talent, it's unbelievable. And it's really because we give these athletes an opportunity to succeed. And then we test them. We put them in the deep end of the pool, and they've got to swim.
Well, I got to say, man, it was sick, because when you guys started on the whole dynasty with a 4 in there, I was around it at the time, and it was just awesome to watch. It was so good. Like, that was a good fun time. And like, at that point, I was pretty deep in the Bandits. I don't want to give too much away. Maybe I've changed a little bit to the Perth Heat, given my proximity. It's I tell you what, those days it was like, who are the Perth Heat, mate? No one cares. Let's go Bandits.
No, one guy I think you have to do mention through that period was obviously Mark Reedy. He did a lot for that organisation. I know you could probably sit here and speak about him for quite a long period of time about everything he did behind the scenes that nobody probably knows about. So, I'm sure that while you were the general manager, that Reedy was right there with you.
Yeah, no, look, mate, he's I call him the constructive disruptor. There's 2 types of disruptors. One can be destructive and one can be constructive. And he was disruptive, saying, why can't we do things better? Why can't we push parameters for this game? And I credit a lot of how he's helped the ABL evolve over a period of time, because it forced every team to reassess themselves as an organization. And it made us and forced us all to raise the bar. So, like I said, I can't say enough positive things. But like I said, he's pioneered. And the other thing too, he's not one to shy away from sharing IP. We're very big on how do we share IP to help other organizations grow. And he was on the phone and he was constantly trying to support others so that way everyone could drive this thing and success. I mean, look, we're in our 14th year. Nobody thought we would still be in the trenches this long, and seems to be only getting stronger and gaining more momentum.
Absolutely, mate. And I just want to touch base really quickly. You got to represent Australia at the Olympics. You're the vice president of Queensland Olympic Committee before transitioning into being the president of Queensland. Like that, that's pretty cool. Like that has to be a cool little. I mean, I'm not sure what that involves.
Well, I'll
what
give you a
do, but that's
snapshot.
pretty cool.
So in the Olympic movement, we work directly with the AOC, the Australian Olympic Council, and we run fundraising dinners. So people don't know this because I don't advertise a lot of what I do outside of baseball. I actually don't advertise a lot what I do in baseball. We run 3 corporate dinners every Olympic year, and our target for that dinner is 1.2 million. So in 16 Rio, we hit 1.2 million, and Queensland had never run a dinner. So I run all the operational aspects of that dinner, and we have a chairman who drives all the table sales. But I leverage all the relationships in the corporate opportunities to reduce. I write the budgets, I put together the strat plans, and then we execute. And then we ran Tokyo, we did another 1.2, and then we just finished Paris 24. We raised 2.2 in Paris, and we partnered with Paralympics Australia. So yeah, it's one night, one dinner, and we raised over 2.2 million. And it's who's who in Queensland in the room, and it's just building momentum, obviously leading into Brisbane 32, but we still have to prepare for LA 28. And then obviously we've got Brisbane 32 in the horizon.
Which is going to be huge, right? Like huge.
It's going to be so much fun.
Yeah, there's still some big girl decisions have to be made between now and then, and that's venues, and hopefully they'll make the right decision with the new government, which was elected in on the weekend. But I hope they follow the suit of what they did in WA with I think it's the Optus. That place is fantastic.
Unbelievable.
But it's a game changer for the city and for the state. So I think when people stop looking at the cost and look at the long-term investment opportunities and the legacy value, they far outweigh any expense.
Absolutely. And look, hopefully the Bandits get a new little stadium out of that, huh?
Well, that's the thing you always hope. You position. Everything's about positioning, isn't it? Timing. So, and that's one thing I have to say WA did really well is their facility. And obviously, I don't know if you know much about Perry Park and the history there, but that place was packed every game, and it kind of catapulted them into a venue. And now they've got one of the better center of excellences in all of Australia, and they continue to put more and more investment into it, which helps grow the next generation of talent.
Absolutely. And mate, you transitioned, from being GM and doing a couple other things into now the Australian Baseball League General Manager. It's 3rd season this year. I'm sure you have learned a lot and put a lot into the last couple of years. Year 3, mate, should be easy for you.
It is, and I'll be honest with you, it is, because what we did is we just assessed in year 1 was get through. People don't realize we came off a COVID year, so there was no good and there was no bad because we were in no baseball. So we had to really put a product out, and then so we were able to execute that. So we didn't tinker much with the modeling based on the fact that we didn't want to create any more disruption, and we didn't know the volatility of what COVID would bring. But I had to rewrite all the strategies of what would happen if we were COVID affected. So you had to have guidelines, stipulation.
And we're back after a short technical issue. We'll see what comes out in post. Maybe there's nothing there. My apologies. But Gonzo, we were just talking then, obviously, about year 1 of what your leadership sort of looked like, and after a COVID year, and give us a bit of that idea as to what.
Yeah, look. I just shortly mentioned that year 1 was just after COVID. So we had actually, unfortunately, Glenn was in a tough position as the new CEO of Baseball Australia and had to shut the league down. So, we were able to run some exhibitions, and then coming into the new year, it was just about how do we implement a model to safeguard teams? Because outside of just the on-field stuff, then you have stakeholder engagement, sponsorship, You have player development, relationships with affiliated clubs overseas. So it was about how do we get back on the ground. And so we really didn't over engineer anything from the rules to anything. And just we said, guys, the rules are the rules. We play by them, and we get to the end. And turned out a great year for Adelaide. They end up, which you had Davo on the call a couple of days ago, and they won their first in 42 years, which was amazing and great for when you talk about coming off and coming back. Great outcome for them. And then next year we sat down as a group and looked at strategically what we could do to implement and streamline decisions. So we tried to get the schedule out earlier, but once again, another tough year because we had GK and Auckland in this. And so a lot of tough decisions to be made. Do we continue with them? Do we continue without them? And the main thing was we had to protect the 6 domestic teams, and we couldn't really work on trying to stay in an international team while you have this investment from the domestic. So we focused on that. And then by year 3, we kind of reassessed everything again. We had rules and regulations done by March. We had our first draft of schedule done by end of May. So teams knew their schedules end of May, early June. And then we scheduled the release in July to allow them to get their ticketing platforms and that side ready. Flights were booked. And so all the operational things that required to start the season were done. Player rules were signed off. Teams could commit to their decisions to run their organizations. And so this year really has been about how do I just continue to make teams more efficient by the league being efficient. So that gives me more time now, and I'm working on this now, and that's another conversation. But we're evolving in a platform that we've built called Baseball Plus, which started with nothing. We were putting content out on YouTube. There was no opportunities to monetize. You could sell small commercial agreements at a team level, but no real way to leverage it and own that data. As far as when I say own the data, just who's watching and how do we connect with more people like that to come and support our game. And in year 1 of launching that platform, we had about 24 to 25,000 people on our database. And last year we finished up with 45,000 people in the database. And now we can track even playoffs, and we had 41,000 unique viewers viewing the ABL semifinals and championship series. So they're great numbers, but we wouldn't have that information 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's a game changer for us and for teams that are part of the platform that we can share with them to help with their commercial partnerships and then leverage new opportunities as well.
There's 2 things in that I previously spoken about this on podcasts. I used to run a podcast with a mate of mine, Michael Gain, on Players Podcast, and our sort of vision for that podcast was to sort of give players a platform to create. Not that we could have, but give them a platform to sort of become a star in a way. Because in my views then, and let's face it, I was a few years younger and a little bit more naive. I didn't think that the league could do that, right? And that was just my opinion, right? I didn't think that the league was set up to create these sort of stars in a way, or there wasn't enough opportunity for them, and that's why we started a podcast, right? So one of the things I've said before is like, hey, like these guys need to do this, and you guys have like the ability to go and create your own platform that you not only am I correct in saying, Gonzo, that basically every kid, every family that signs up through the year also now has a Baseball Plus account. Is that correct?
No, they're separate. So they're 2 separate. So we currently have more people in Baseball Plus registration database than Baseball Australia.
Wow. Okay. So my apologies, but I actually thought it was linked, and I was like, that is just genius.
Yeah, but this is a good question. But what we do is now we run not just the ABL content, but we run all the national events. So Little League Nationals, Senior League, Junior League Nationals, Women's Team Australia. And so to watch it, you have to register. So it costs you nothing to register, but you have access to all that content on your device, whether it be Android, Apple, your laptop, or if you want a Chromecast to your TV. So that's how far it's evolved. But now we've actually established a brand, and now we're global. So we've got a viewing audience of 25% of that viewing audience is international. And we're currently building tiles in Mandarin, Japanese, and Korean so they can register within their own language, and the portal set up in their language as well. So they don't have to go through the English barrier. So my focus with the team is how do we get, and I'll say this to you again, 0.5% of the Asian market. That's
Yeah.
all I need.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because there's 230 million baseball fans in Asia. I just want 0.5, and we're in a really good position to make that happen because we have affiliate partnerships with KBO, MPB, and CPBL teams. So they're all starving for content, and their players are playing in the league, and we're not cannibalizing any viewership because they're not in season. So we fall into a really great niche of taking this to the next level.
I love it. I like from a guy that loves, content and far as and the business behind the business. I love what you guys are doing. The ability to also call back and all those sorts of things. It's fantastic.
Well,
One thing
I'll share a secret with you. So
yeah,
not only have we mastered that, we've actually, and this is all happening in the shadows, and this is what I do, and my team loves it because we're creative and people don't know it. We were running games, clean feeds, and we would feed them to Taiwan against two teams that had Taiwanese players, and we would have Mandarin overlay over the game, so they were calling the games in Mandarin in Taiwan. And we can track those viewers as well as far as numbers. So we were averaging between 60,000 and 120,000 on the high end for viewers just in that one market. So once again, those where the commercial opportunities happen is through the international market, and more so in Asia than the US based on the time zones as well. So
Is that one of the most? I mean, I know for a few years now we've put a lot of emphasis on trying to get into that market, the Asian market, to attract teams to come down to Australia to send their players down to various Australian baseball teams. I do have a list of what I understand the breakdown of these clubs. Just in that Asian market, I see the Heat have Rakatan from the MPB and the Dinos. They've announced that. Melbourne Aces have got a couple of players coming out from the Dragons and CPBL. The Bandits announced they have some guys coming out that they haven't announced who or whatever like that, but I'm looking forward to seeing the names that come out from there. The Blue Sox came out this week and got Chipolata Marines, and the Giants, obviously the Urumi Giants. So I know there's probably some more announcements coming soon.
I'll throw that out. The Urumi Giants one's unique. So one of the guys coming out is the tallest Japanese player ever. His nickname, he wears number 55, and I don't know if you know who wore 55 for the Urumi Giants for a number of years. His name was Matsui.
Yeah.
Played for the Yankees. His nickname was Godzilla, and this guy's nickname is Godzilla 2.0. He already has 120,000 Instagram followers, and last year in his rookie season, he had 273 as a rookie in the MPB.
Does he know that the wind just howls straight into
he knows that he travels to Brisbane and he travels to the smaller ballparks as well. I'll give you by the numbers. Okay, so I got my team to put some stuff together. So here's by the numbers for this year alone: 9 players with MLB experience, over 20 with AAA experience, close to 40 current prospects from 13 major league clubs, 16 Japanese players from 5 different MPB teams, 6 KBO players from 2 KBO clubs, 8 CPBO players from 6 different CPBO clubs, and 70 players who have appeared in minor leagues at some point. That's this year alone.
Wow.
That's progression, right? That
progression.
To me, that looks at it, and I know there's been a bit of a plan in the background to engage these teams through the Asian market, and you start to see it, and you start to see these guys come down here. They have a great time. The weather's great in Australia. They continue to be able to do the things during the week to prepare for the next year. I hope. I don't know how many of these players are going to stick around for the full season. I always wish that they do get the full year out of them before, probably getting shut down for that little bit of period of time.
MPB is based on, and you would know this as an MLB player, they have their player associations have certain restrictions, and their workloads are fairly intense in Japan. So they start spring training early Feb. So that gives them, contractually time off. So that's why they shut them down in early December. I agree. We'd love to have them out. We've just, second year, Glenn, obviously CEO of Baseball Australia, we signed an agreement with the MPB umpire. So we bring in 4 MPB umpires. as part of the development, and it's been successful. So, but the key is the reason why teams are sending talent is, one, we have good talent in Australia, but two, the talent's so spread out evenly now. The player development is starting to really increase, which is part of Pathway. So I think we released an article today of it was players all-time player list, MLB player list. Hughesy, I hate to say you didn't make it.
Make it, mate. See
Who's the bloop now, mate? Who's the bloop now?
You didn't make it.
I think the career's 7 or 8 home runs just didn't cut it, mate.
Yeah, but the problem is if I put you at short, you're going against Didi Gregorius. If I put you at second, you're going against Birdie. If I put you in right, you're going against Reddick.
What about third base? Now, if that's an open spot, Junior who?
Junior Caminero.
Caminero. I mean, that guy's a freak, right? He's a freak, mate.
So, and then you've got Ohapi catching, and if I put you in left, you're going against Acuna Jr. So it's a tough class to make. But the point of what I'm trying to say is, you can see why now there's so much investment from all these clubs. They're seeing the outcomes. It's not like these sending guys here and they're getting a good suntan and they got a few extra kilos of beer weight on them. They're going back lean and mean and they're breaking with their clubs and a lot of guys are going to the big leagues and they're impact guys. They're not cup of coffee. They are impact guys. Reese Hopkins. They're guys that you're going, whoa, all-stars. So it's a credit to the teams. I acknowledge.
Hold on, was Reese Hopkins on that team?
Oh, hold on.
Hoskins.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, he was.
He was. Okay,
Hoskins.
make sure. Okay, yeah. Okay.
He was first base. He was.
Okay.
And then you had Delman Young as DH.
Yeah. Just making sure.
But you're right, man. Like what the by the numbers from before, that's not just a sales pitch. It's also breeding legitimacy, right? You know what I mean? Like that's it. Like it turns around and says, yeah, okay, like cool. And you're right, Hughesy. It's not just and it's a great place to come, but Gonzo's going, no, this is it. We can back it up now. And that comes back to what you were saying earlier as far as building a brand. A question I've been wanting to ask you, and forgive me, I understand that we have, some of this just previously could have gone over it, but the year that we had off, right? It was pitched to us as fans that, understandably so with COVID and all of that. Is there a way that we can quantify that now? And I can already see this answer, right? From what you've said, you've built a pretty good system around the ABL as, and all of that. But is there a way for us to quantify how big and successful that year was off for the ABL? Is there? Do you understand where I'm going for that?
I could pull out the numbers, but I have to just dig. It would be a quick look into my files.
Easy, yes.
So ticket sales were stronger post-COVID than our strongest year ever in the ABL.
Wow. So
we had higher attendance, higher ticket sales, and obviously because we started to be able to track data through our streaming platform, our numbers are higher. So example, 1920, the average viewing time on YouTube when we had the ABL on YouTube was 19 to 20 minutes. It's currently 62 minutes on average.
Yeah, wow.
So that's
sensational.
It's a big time difference and now viewing time and the number of viewers per team. So like I said, now we can track that data and year since pre-COVID, our ticket sales numbers have gone up. We actually had stronger ticket sales over the last 3 years since COVID. And that's across the entire league.
Another question I have for you, and sorry, Hughesy, but I've got to get this on my chest because this is the part that I love. Like, I love this stuff. Like, we're talking content, we're talking ways of distribution, and then also, feedback loops as far as like, okay, how do we now we've got these guys? How do we keep them here and keep them happy and find out if they are happy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. One thing I want to ask you, all right? Can we get like a vault system on Baseball Plus where we can go back to some of these old school ABL games where there's guys swinging tins, swinging wood? Is that already there?
To go back and see some archive footage?
I want to see some of the archive, the old school stuff, some of these real old games, like on MLB.com.
Perth's actually doing it now. If you look on their
they're doing
socials,
it on their Facebook, but I want to get in on and watch a whole game. Or is that easy?
It's hard to get content because we'd be digging up VHS tapes as opposed to the digital world we live in. But it is doable. It's just transferring the data into a different format, and then we can just upload it into the cloud.
I don't know, man. I'm just throwing it out there. I think you might be on a winner there. It's something you can go back and talk about, because as we know, Hughesy, it's always new ABL, old ABL, blah blah blah. I think if you could find some top quality games, some of those great old games.
Johnny Edwards, everyone in the baseball circles know Johnny Edwards. I was sitting here, I think it was like a Friday night, about a month and a half ago, and just flicking through Facebook, and all of a sudden Johnny Edwards had posted this video of Victoria playing WA in a Claco, and I messaged him. I was like, mate, this is great. Like, I reckon he had like maybe 40 minutes worth.
Yeah.
And I was like, just sitting there flicking through, just finding out when young Hughesy was hitting, just to see if I got a hit or two.
Just watching yourself. You were, mate. We know what you were doing.
Just 30 kegs lighter. Just a young little buck with Lockie Dale running around there. And I messaged him. I said, mate, this is amazing. This is great stuff. And he goes, just wait till tomorrow night. And then he put on the championship game where they beat us, which I was like, now I knew, so it was pretty cool to see that. And I know there's some, Lockie's doing some stuff to try to get that video and to be able to upload it. And I know they're doing a lot of history stuff over in WA. And it is something for us that I know it's completely really difficult to be able to do, to get that content out there. But for all us guys, yourself, like all the people, mate, we love seeing old stuff like that, to see the games and all the old names playing. And I think we forget as baseball fans the amount of players and the different people that got an opportunity to play. And not only like your Australian team players, but those club baseball players that got an opportunity to represent the state for a week and the Claxton Shield. Now, I know it was quite different back then, but it's still something, as you said, Sexy, it'd be good to see some of that content. So,
dude,
mate,
I would love to watch.
There's your challenge, Gonzo. That. There's your challenge, Gonzo.
Hey,
get it.
Well, I'll tell you this right now, and not that it's not a good idea, but like there's so much happening in this space. It's like, how would you love in Premier 12 that all of a sudden content's available on Baseball Plus and I've got access to it and Team Australia opens up. So that's where we're looking at the future. How do we get new content that's fresh? How do I get Travis Mazzana's first at bat in AA or AAA next year and it's on Baseball Plus because we've got it? The Wells brothers are in AAA and he's one day away from a big league debut. So that now tech has allowed us to evolve. So not disrespecting the past,
the future,
but there's so much opportunity in the future as well. But I need a team. And look, if the platform does what it should, it gives us more opportunities to leverage more resources than we can put into those special projects and then put that to the forefront.
And maybe you need a great video podcast or something like that to go onto that platform. I know a few guys that. Anyways, let's stop putting him under the grill. We are recording. I don't want Gonzo to never talk to me again.
Yeah, but that's the whole point. Is that in the model that I've put together for Baseball Plus, it does have it. I've worked on a 3-year model, so until 27, and it doesn't mean that you can't have a panel show. It doesn't mean you can't have because you own the platform. You set up a studio, you've got a green room, you set up an interview. Every game's called by pro guys around the country. And then eventually, if we're calling Asian games, we can call them in English on a Baseball Plus platform. So as tech evolves, so can we, because it's more affordable now and allows us to kind of give the local fans more content, long term in the future as well.
I love it because the concept, and I know we'll move away from this. And I know this wasn't on the cards, but I love it because for me and for us as the fan back in sort of pre-2020, pre-COVID, all that, the thought was always, it's got to go back to network television. It's got to go back to pay-per-view, not pay-per-view, pay TV and that. And it was like, it's good. The cost involved in that, in putting a game on Fox Sports, was just so crazy. And you can see why the league wouldn't do it. So YouTube was a natural sort of progression. You go, this is good. But the way that you guys have got it now with Baseball Plus, I think is fantastic. And kudos to you, man.
It is. And unreal. The reality is that if we put it on KO and Fox, they're the ones that monetize. Not the league.
That's right.
We need every dollar. As you know, every dollar is important for sustainability. And the league is not just about growing talent, but it's about financial sustainability. So if we can find ways to leverage, and I call this new money, new investment in a tough commercial world, then all of a sudden that investor is allowed to put a little bit more into other parts of the business. And and I'll credit Melbourne, to look at their transformation of their facility. Hughesy, you played there. They rock. They put on a great show. Their ticket sales are unbelievable in the entire league, but there's not a part in that ballpark that doesn't engage the fan base and creates a really cool fan experience. So once again, outside of wins and losses, they put together an amazing fan experience, but so do a lot of the other clubs as well.
You hit the nail on the head early for me. I'm a big WWE guy. When you said sports entertainment, I thought that's the exact no, but it is, and I know it's blah, blah, but that is that mentality of like, yeah, we're here, and yes, the product. I love what you said. The product is there, but wins and losses don't matter if the engagement's there.
Okay, so let's
all driven off engagement.
You talk about apex of sport. World Series is on right now. Two giants going head to head. How cool was it for Ice Cube to walk out in LA and do his thing? Is that entertainment?
That was sick.
Of course it was.
Yeah.
Right? Unbelievable. So he was a bigger show than the show, but it was a show within the show.
Which you don't see much of in the big leagues, because the big league product is the people on the field. It's changed, nothing else.
It's changed.
MLB is changing that.
Look at Minnesota. Your closer in Minnesota now comes out to one of the coolest, with the light show and the LEDs, and look at the Diaz in the Mets organization. Mate, it's nightclub stuff where the whole crowd is engaged and immersed in the game, and beyond that as well.
Go back to opening day for the Dodgers. When Shohei comes out, they come out of center field and it's literally a WWE entrance. Like, they had the LED boards, they're coming out. No, it was. Am I wrong?
I get it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the stuff that they love because it's on.
And then I do get this. MLB has been so traditional.
Yeah.
It's traditional. But so was cricket until they created a format called 2020. Mm-hmm. And everyone said, it's not going to work. It saved it. Reality is MLB reinvented himself. And a lot of non-traditions. Hughesy knows this. He could not stare at a home run like these guys do now, because in his era, he wore one in the ear hole the next at bat, or his teammate did. Now it's all part of the game, and it's entertainment at the same time. It's still high level sport, but let's be real. If I'm a little person that's not a Yankee fan, and I see that, I'm hooked just because of what they've done for the sport. So,
I'm just an average club ball guy, mate. So I just pimp doubles. I just stand and watch doubles.
So before we came on tonight, Sexy said to me, he's like, mate, I thought I got one. I got one. Now at Morley, at our local club, it's about 720 feet to dead center field. And so funny enough, Big Sexy uses a tin bat too, so a little bit easier for him. And
just last week,
he reckons he just hit a ground ball double instead.
I absolutely murdered this ball. I tell you what, and then it just went nah. Won't get out on you, mate.
That was just a quiet drive-by shot at you, Sexy.
No, thanks, mate. No, I appreciate it. Yeah.
The one thing, and I do want to come back to the World Series, but I just want to touch base at the end. But two things. You've mentioned a lot about the platform and the teams. Obviously the MLB are sending out organizations are sending out players too, which is great. That seems like it's always evolving and kind of swapping and who's coming out. What's in store? What's your vision away from the platform? The goals and what you'd like to see over the next, call it 2 or 3 years?
Look, you're talking about in the whole game as a whole.
Nah, just the ABL, just the Australian Baseball League.
In the ABL. Look, I think there's a couple things, and I'm going to go back to my state association cap. We continue to grow the game at grassroots. I think it's imperative. We need the next generation of Hughesy's, and we need the next generation of Bazanas and the Whitefields and those guys. And we can't do that unless we grow from grassroots. So it's imperative that we stay engaged. And why the ABL is so important is it's the marketing arm of the sport, and it's also the high performance arm of the sport. People say, explain that to me. So Hughesy, this as a national representative. We don't have academies like the Wallabies and going on tour. We don't get that. We go out there and we get probably 2 weeks, and then we're playing against some of the best talent in the world now. So if we're going to compete at that level, the best platform for us to develop, in my personal opinion, as a former national player and now as administrator, is the arena we've created in Australian Baseball League. Yep. It is now enables you to face guys from the KBO. Who are you going to face on the Korean national team? you're gonna face guys from the MPB who you're gonna face in international level. US, you got guys. I think they're gonna bring out 3 guys this year. They're gonna be topping at 100 miles an hour. So our guys can't do that. And no disrespect to club ball, you can't transition from club ball to that level. You know that because I can hit 400 in club ball, and all of a sudden I get this little loop, and then a guy's throwing 97, and I don't square things up. So it's such a great vehicle for us for the next generation for growth, but also retention, but also from a high performance perspective. If we want to be in LA 28, we need this vehicle.
Yep.
There's no other vehicle we have that's going to prepare our athletes to go and compete at that stage. And if I look at it, Premier 12, what name did I see? Travis Bazana is on that team.
Special.
That's special because here's a kid who just was the number 1 pick in the MLB draft with Cleveland, and it meant that much to him to put on the green and gold and represent Australia at Premier 12. So that's what we need to continue to do, where people and our young youth that are even having success in the collegiate systems or even the U.S. want to wear the green and gold and represent Australia. And that's when you know you're doing something right. That's what I feel. Some people say, we need more Aussies. I don't disagree with you. But this is not a tokenistic model where you go, we'll give you a go. This is high performance. High performance, you know this. Nobody sits there and goes, Hughesy's a rookie and A-ball, so this got called up. I'll let up. No. Go ask Sheriff if Ohtani let up on him in World Baseball Classic. No. And that's what you face. It's the elite. And the only way we prepare our athletes for that is we put them in the bigger arena. And we hope that those kids can step up and have success. And we've had some great success coming through a lot of the programs on kids that you probably didn't expect to have it, but they were able to step up and play at a higher level. And they end up wearing the green and gold as well.
Previously, I've had some thoughts on the whole import thing and more Aussies in the league. But I will say this. I think you, fair call. How you've explained it there is pretty good. But look, my reasoning was more from like a business perspective, I guess, looking at it as far as, again, marketability and things like that. You know, if we can't create a core of Aussie stars, which look, and this is where I am sort of coming back and saying, look, it's fair. Like most teams now have that, right? The model is effectively a core or skeleton of Aussie stuff, and then you can add in the guys and the bits that you need through your relationship with your affiliated club, right? But previously it didn't feel like that. It sort of felt a bit more, sort of we'll just take what we can get rather than, creating this core. And that was our opinion as fans and things like that. But now it is, it's gotten a lot better as far as that with the point system and all of that kind of stuff as well.
Well, the point system is the only thing that keeps balance.
Yeah,
we have wealth in the league that could buy talent, and that's not an issue. But how do we keep it balanced where it's equalized? So the point system it is the only thing that makes it where every team's still in it. And if you look at the last 2 years going into the last round, every team numerically still had a shot of making top 4, even against some of the stronger clubs. So they were only 1 game or half a game out of a playoff spot. So it shows that the only thing that can keep it is financially it's tough because, as you know, if someone gets lured for an opportunity, they're going to go and take it, particularly, later on in their careers because it's hard to make a living out of this game, particularly in Australia. But the point system keeps it balanced so every team still has a chance to compete for the Shield, going into round 10. So
and that's probably your biggest. If you're a GM of the league, you're like, mate, I want to make sure all 6 teams coming late in the season, couple of good series, and they can make it. There's an upset there, or like teams can actually get all the way through. It's not cancelled out halfway through the season. Look at the AFL, all these other sports. All these teams are done halfway through the year. With baseball, call it the last 2 weeks. You get hold the right time, you win 8 straight, 7 out of 8. Back in the season, mate, you make the finals there.
I'll tell you right now, Perth is it's a business case. They went to the grand finals last year and they had no star power in the back end, and they were 1 game away from winning the whole thing. And once again, a credit to the organization and what they do over there. But they've got a great culture, and they didn't have their big guns. If they have their big guns, I think they win it all. I said that to their ownership group, their license group, and they lost some key people, and Adelaide was just too talent depth. But you look at Melbourne. Melbourne honestly, with what they put on paper. And this year, I'm just looking at Melbourne. They've just signed that Sean Maramondo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He played in the big league with the Twins. He won the championship in Taiwan and Korea. He's pitcher of the
Shoved
year
the
in
year he was
21.
here.
And then they're bringing Greg Bird back. Mate, and then they've still got Glendenning, Whitefield, George. Mate, they're stacked. So when I look at it,
Did
that's
Deeps
why I
give
picked
us
him,
a
mate.
little?
That's why I picked him. I didn't know about some of these signings.
Did Deeps give us a spoiler or something there,
Nothing,
Hughesy?
mate,
He
nothing.
didn't. He was pretty
Nothing.
tight-lipped.
But he was too busy telling stories about,
the
Dodgers and stuff and how good they are. But I mean,
and once again, you've got, and that's the credit. You've got one of the best baseball minds in the country running that ball club. So, like I said, there's a lot of talent out there, but there's also a lot of coaching talent depth in the country. We got 2 guys in the big leagues now. One of your mates is out with Kansas City, and we got Collins in Houston, and
don't forget, Johnny Friesen gets missed as well. He's with the Indians in analytics.
Yeah.
I think he gets missed a little bit. And look, there's a couple other guys that I haven't had much to do with over the years that are floating around there too. Like I feel there is a pretty good, Australian connection into some of these clubs. Mate, I reckon we dive into, in another podcast about these guys. And don't worry, we'll have D-San on here. I just wanted to let him get through the year and the playoffs and have a bit of a break before I hound him for an interview, mate. But look, this has been great. I don't know what else you got, Sexy. I want to talk a little bit about the World Series and where we're at.
I'm happy to. Yeah.
Let's
get into the World Series.
I mean, mate, it's 2-0. LA are up at this current night tonight.
Yep.
What's your feeling? I mean, 2 juggernauts, right? 2 just complete. And to be honest with you, when you look at the players' side of things, and I still have my players' hat on occasionally with the salary, and I do like these clubs going out and spending money. The boys get paid. I love all that stuff, right? For me, like it does look back, and these boys, when they come out for free agency, they have the opportunity to make some good coin, a lot of coin. Who do you see, mate? How do you see this series playing out?
Ooh. Okay, I'm going to put on my baseball just purist hat. I think baseball's a winner. I mean, if you look at the way MLB structured the playoffs, even the San Diego LA series was electric. Just that whole buildup. The Mets beating the Phillies, Atlanta, it was. But right now, I'm gonna go Yankees, and I'll tell you why. And somebody said, when I look at the lineup, if Judge can just find, and square it up, Soto's doing his job.
Stanton doing his job.
And I look at their rotation. I think they made a bad call pulling their starter out. I should let him go.
Yeah,
get that first win, and then if game 2 you lose, okay, I'm 1-1 going to New York. So now their backs against the wall, but they'll be in New York. And did you get a chance to play in Yankee Stadium?
Yes, I did.
It's a different beast.
Different.
So, and Ohtani, I don't know about the arm injury. Hopefully that's
I just checked then he's back for game 3. So as we're recording this, ladies and gentlemen, this is just between game 2.
Just a couple shots in the shoulder, just jab him and get him back out there.
That was the saddest part for me, that whole thing. So
I think all of baseball across the globe, when that happened, then he got taken out. Everyone just was like,
okay. So I'll go back on that. And this is and I don't wear a high performance hat. And I'll be honest with you, in my role, a lot of times I don't know who's playing on what team. And because mine is more about operational efficiencies, commercial, what we're doing with the platform and the sport evolving. That's where I commit all my energies. I had my high performance time. I think what he did with the 50-50, he'll never do it again, because if he goes back on the bump, they'll restrict him on how much he can steal, because you don't want to compromise exactly what happened yesterday.
Agreed. Yep.
You don't want to compromise everything he brings to the game because he stole a base.
Yeah.
So it's either you hit bombs or you punch people out,
mate.
But you're not stealing bags.
Mate, they said this right at the start of the season, and I remember watching, maybe it was on John Boy, maybe it was the boys talking, maybe it was Moilo, and they were talking around this year, if he was going to do something, would be this. Like, he has the ability to go out and steal bases because he isn't pitching. Now, he did the 50-50. I agree with it. He will not do that again, but he'll win multiple MVPs after this year.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
No doubt, right? No doubt.
But
but
I'm
it'll just
saying
be
what
different.
he did,
You
the
just never,
50
you never see it, right? Acuna
50-50,
might,
yeah.
I don't know.
You won't see the 50-50 from him again.
No.
Because once he gets on the bump, too much of a risk of a finger or a hand or a shoulder to steal a bag.
Agreed.
So
Agreed. I think I've spoke to Deebs about this a little bit last week, and we talked around the amount of injuries that they've had within their pitching staff, and they put something out this week, and I'll probably forget some guys, but they had May, Gosling, bloody pretty boy, Glasnow, Stone. They've had
Bueller was injured for
Bueller
a
was
fair few
injured,
months.
Gatterall was injured. Mate, they've had all these guys that are hurt, and I guess money, fortunately enough for them, is no object. They went out, and I think they made two of the best trades that I've seen in a very long time by getting Flaherty and Edmund. Both are having great postseasons.
They got the guy from the Red Sox, White Sox, Kopech.
Kopech as well.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty amazing. On the other hand, you got the Yankees, where I don't think they made a big splash at the trade deadline to be able to add someone. And the storyline that I love to see, and it happened the other day, was the fact that the Yankees went out and tried to sign Yamamoto. Dodgers went out and tried to sign Yamamoto, and the Dodgers won that one. And he came out and threw 6 innings, gave up, I think, 1 home run to Soto, 1 run, and that was it. So if you switch that and Yamamoto's on the other side, how those.
That's the thing I think the Yankees need, man. They're doing really well with Rodon and Cole, but it just feels like it's after that it doesn't. I mean, look, that's my opinion, but
look,
shaky.
And once again, I think whoever wins, the sport's a winner. Like, this is the two giants going head to head. I'm sure there's a lot of fans that hate it, but I think for a baseball fan, I haven't seen one complain with these two guys going head to head. No,
can we just get a Game 7, mate? I just want to push it out, get closer to the ABL season, because once the MLB finishes, I mean, what do we do? Go watch NBA or something?
And then they got the Premier 12.
We got the Prem 12, mate. We've got heaps going on. We've got 100,000 people to talk to.
Are you going to Japan, mate, for the Prem 12?
No, I've got to man the ship because all the senior staff are in Japan.
Yep.
So I've got to make sure that from this side, because outside of that, I got to deal with all the DRP issues, disciplinary review panel decisions, and and then we have special rules for Premier 12 because teams will lose a lot of their roster spots, so they've got to gap fill them with.
I did have that question written down. Real quick, mate, because I want to let you go because you've been amazing. Quickly, what rules, or is it just an increase in points? Is it the ability to bring some guys in?
Yeah. So what we'll do is we encourage development guys getting opportunities. So some teams. So what we do with development players, their at bats or their innings do not count against regular season. So once a pitcher hits 20 innings, he becomes an active player. So from development to active. Once a player gets over 7 ABs, they become an active player. Okay. So any at-bat, any innings don't count against the players. Now, if they replace the player with an independent guy to fill the void, so let's say you lost a Wingrove and you want to replace him like for like and they go get an indie guy, we don't count that point of players against the point system. So we cap the points at 15, regardless of where they finish. So really, if you had 24 points on your roster, we cap it at 15.
Gotcha.
And that way, these teams aren't going in there feeling like they're handicapped going against a stronger team.
Yeah, because some teams are a little bit more like Adelaide have a ton of guys, Melbourne have a ton of
Correct. And so at least it keeps a balance. And last year when we had one team that was like, oh, I don't know about this, I'm like, mate, they're playing for Australia, first and foremost. So let's not. But two, when I looked at it, there was nobody with an advantage. Each team had lost 3 players, that were what I consider their marquee top players, and they gap filled them with players that were capable of filling the gaps. And it didn't really hurt anyone in the end. Every team was still in contention, and round 1 didn't become a factor where someone didn't get swept over round 1 because they didn't have the horses they need. But not just players, but coaches.
Yeah.
So you've got, Jim Bennett, who's managing Canberra. He's on Team Australia. Shane Watson, He's on Team Australia coaching staff. He's managing the Bandits. So there will be some voids even in that space before teams rejoin. And if they go to round 2, then we've got to repeat. So if they get past round 1, they go into round 2. It'll be first. The rules for round 2 will apply as they did for round 1.
Tell you what, man, this look, the Prem 12 is going to be amazing. It's going to be a fun couple of months, and also too, yeah, of course, like every fan, right? Travis Bazana's in there. We didn't think that was going to happen. Hughesy and I, episode 1, we were like, that'd be great if it happens. But, hey, and it looks like that's what's happening. So it's going to be an amazing time, and we can't wait. Look, I do have one final question, if you don't mind, Hughesy. Did you have anything else that you wanted to ask Gonzo?
No.
Look, Gonzo, it's a bit of a funny one, all right? You're the first one that's going to get this, all right? So it is a question without notice, and I know tomorrow you're going to wake up and you're going to say, "Oh man, I should have said this," and that's cool. We'll have you on again anytime, mate. More than happy to. The question I have for you: you've had such a storied career, mate. You've played at high levels. You played for Australia. Now in the administrative side. What's one thing that you think, looking back on your career, that you would tell young Gonzo when he first started? Just one little thing, man, like, hey, keep your head up, or keep focused on this, or something like that. Is there one thing that you turn around to your younger self and say?
No, because I don't have any regrets. I gave everything a go, and I think one thing is I've always lived by this philosophy is I don't fear failure.
There you go.
And the reason why is because I prepare for everything. Whether I was playing as a player, I prepare to my best ability mentally and physically. And when I prepare for my job, I go hard on my preparation. So my off season is harder than my season, so that way I can enjoy the season. So Hughesy, you get that as a high performance athlete.
Yeah.
You train harder in the off season so you can enjoy the season. And so I do that in my professional career. I do all my planning and strategies beginning so I can enjoy the journey. But then because I'm in a proactive space, if something does happen, I can react to it because I'm not in reactive mode. So I've always been like that, and I've done that professionally. And I do that as a director of my boards, is that, like, I'll be honest with you, Baseball Plus, I've already built the model for next year. It's built. And the reason why I've done it is so that way, if we implement it, I'm not implementing in June, I'm implementing it in February. So after the championship series, whatever the outcome is, I give myself about a week to kind of let go of everything we've held together as a small team. And then we're planning ownership meetings, and we're already presenting all our acquittals and all our reconciliation reports, and then our strategies for the next year. So that way, myself and my team have the next 11 months or 10 months to implement and execute against what we're trying to achieve. So that's how I'm wired. And honestly, somebody asked me, well, you could have kept playing, and why didn't you? My last at bat was a home run in the gold medal game against Cuba. But I knew it was going to be my last time. That was it. I didn't have any aspirations of continuing and going to the World Baseball Classics, which would have been amazing. But I knew that was my time, and it was now focused on my next career, which was, whether it be corporate or administrator. And so no regrets.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. That's a good answer. No, and look, that's awesome. I mean,
and to be honest with you, mate, I'm still on the journey.
And that's a great answer too, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's always just funny, and there's always different ways that you can get, different little tidbits you can get out of people with that. So,
absolutely.
Man, we really appreciate your time. And
mate, guys, appreciate you. This is awesome.
Thank you so much, and
thank you.
Best of luck with everything. And look, you said you've got next season's content planned out, so we'll talk to you off air about 2020. That's all good, mate. No worries. Look, Hughesy, appreciate you, mate. Thanks so much. You guys, if you listen to this, make sure you check out the socials at Blue Blast Podcast on all the socials, everywhere you can get it. Gonzo, thanks again, mate. We appreciate you.
Yeah, and before we close, give me the link. My team said they're happy to share the link on our platform as well. So, give you guys some love.
Appreciate it, man. We appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Now, the only thing missing, you guys need to have your logo somewhere so I can identify your brand.
You'll be on that.
It gets out there on the post-production, brother.
Yeah.
I got a little bit of work to do once we click stop and stop recording, but that's okay. That happens. Hughesy just sits back and
I need to get a big boy mic in my next one.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can sort you out with some off-air sponsorship contracts and stuff like that.
It's a
It's all
boomerang.
good, Gonzo, mate.
Thanks,
You're
mate.
the best. We appreciate you. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
mate.
Thanks,
Have a
Gon.
good night.
Going back. This ball's back.